In 2007, a group of interested families and healthcare professionals from the Phelps Center for Cerebral Palsy and Neurodevelopmental Medicine at the Kennedy Krieger Institute and United Cerebral Palsy of Central Maryland and Baltimore formed Cerebral Palsy Kinetic Connections. Our mission is to provide the cerebral palsy community with the means of connecting with one another for developing and promoting information exchange and to provide educational programs, a forum to promote cerebral palsy research and mutual support.
We felt that there wasn't any real support group for families and individuals with cerebral palsy, so Alec Hoon and I got together with a number of parents of families that we thought might be interested, and we formed an organizing committee in order to develop a support group.
I think the key aspect of the care of individuals with disabilities is the interface between families and professionals. Sometimes the professionals have their own goals and agenda, which may or may not coincide with what families' interests and agenda are. At Kennedy Krieger, a small group of us had these discussions and recognized that this was an area where we needed to improve. So out of those discussions, we formed the Kinetic Connection group as a way to promote this discourse and interface between professionals and families. We've had advocacy components to this where we're making sure families are aware of what's out there legislatively and what they can do to promote their interests. We have educational components. We have parent support where parents are part of this Kinetic Connection, and we meet and talk and we can begin to understand more clearly what their interests are.
My name is Ellen Moore, and I am the mom of Catherine Moore, who is an amazing, inspirational individual. Catherine was born extremely prematurely at 25 weeks. She weighed 1 pound 9 ounces when she was born and was 12.5 inches long, and my wedding band would fit around her arm. And we learned about 2 weeks in that she had a 95+% chance of having cerebral palsy. It was probably the worst day of my life, but I learned that it was possibly the best day of my life because we've learned tremendous things from her. Dr. Hoon, at one of our appointments, told me that he and Dr. Levy were interested in forming a group to support families in this area who had been affected by cerebral palsy, and asked me if I would help to organize that. And as you can imagine, I was extremely busy as a mom as well as an executive, and but I thought it was really important to try to give back to the community and to try to participate in an organization that could help families and people with cerebral palsy. So we formed the Cerebral Palsy Kinetic Connections group, and from the very beginning there was a lot of energy in the room and excitement and enthusiasm. It was really important to us that the organization represented energy and movement, because that is typically what cerebral palsy is not. And so we wanted people to know that people with cerebral palsy do have energy and do have movement, just in a different way. And so that's one of the things why we used the word kinetic. And then we used the word connections because we wanted people to be making connections in a community. One of the things that was really exciting to me about the road that we got on with Kinetic Connections was that that we could start to build a community, and we could start to connect families together, and we could start to connect kids together, and people with cerebral palsy could realize that, hey, there are other people out there like me, and there are other families walking this road.
Beginning in 2007, Cerebral Palsy Kinetic Connections started offering programs and services for individuals with cerebral palsy and their families. Cerebral Palsy Kinetic Connections presents annual education conferences and monthly seminars led by experts in the treatment and research of cerebral palsy for individuals with cerebral palsy, their families, and healthcare professionals.
We've had several conferences where we've invited community providers, especially therapists, physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, to come and learn about cerebral palsy.
I was privileged to participate in many of the seminars that we provide. I feel that with this organization, we were able to get a stronger voice for this population, because in the arenas of special needs, cerebral palsy seems to be neglected because they are children and adults with physical limitations. They also are nonverbal. And so we need a stronger voice, and I feel this organization will be able to promote funding and also generate more interest to support education, research, and services for all the children and adults with cerebral palsy.
Our trained volunteers share information about cerebral palsy and community resources with families at the Phelps Center for Cerebral Palsy and Neurodevelopmental Medicine at Kennedy Krieger Institute.
When Madison was 2 and when she was diagnosed, I was 7 months pregnant with my second daughter. And advocacy has been a passion for me. It was very difficult to get services for Madison. So I made it my mission that because it was so difficult for me, I did not want other parents to have to go through what I went through. One of the things that I wanted to bring to the organization was resources to families. Part of what I do in the clinic is I meet with families and discuss not only their needs, but what their interests are. Working with new families who are newly diagnosed, it's important that there's someone there that they're able to speak to, that they know that it's not the end of the world. Not only knowing that it's not the end of the world, but knowing questions to ask.
Out of this has come the recognition that, again, in tough financial times where insurance is being progressively cut back, that the financial needs of families are significant and often unmet. So we established a special needs fund.
Cerebral Palsy Kinetic Connections created a special needs fund to provide financial awards to individuals with cerebral palsy in Maryland to help with medical and support services related to cerebral palsy that are not covered through private or public health insurance programs.
We have a daughter, Maggie, who is 20 years old. Maggie has multiple disabilities. Her primary diagnosis is cerebral palsy and is on the more severe end of the spectrum. She's non-ambulatory, she's nonverbal, she's G-tube fed. She has developed a seizure disorder, scoliosis. She also has cognitive delay as well. And on top of all of that, she's had 10 or 11 major surgeries in her life, mostly orthopedic, all before the age of 17, and 2 of which landed her on life support. And so life has been very challenging for her. A good friend of mine introduced me to the Cerebral Palsy Kinetic Connections group. I first was attracted to the fact, I love the opportunity to be with other family members because we kind of speak our own language, and it just, to be with one another, you bolster one another, and it's just good to learn about new things and what have you. But then to know that we would be with providers as well really excited me to share with them our stories in hopes that they'll understand so that they too can better support families. 99% of the time of our life is not lived at the hospital. It's not lived receiving OT-PT speech. It's living at home, and it's living in the community and going to school and trying to work. The professionals in the group are just wonderful and hear it and want to try and really make a difference. And I think we do through Cerebral Palsy Kinetic Connections. We make a tremendous difference.
Cerebral Palsy Kinetic Connections sponsors social activities for individuals with cerebral palsy and their families.
Allie was born with a diagnosis of cerebral palsy. We received Allie's diagnosis when she was probably about 4 months old. I was going to be able to see Ellie make more improvements than what the doctors had initially told me. And that, because I was already seeing improvement, I think that the early intervention that Ellie had has gotten her to where she is right now. She's 14 years old. She is walking beautifully. She's running. She's actually playing on a ice hockey team, a special needs ice hockey team. I knew that that Cerebral Palsy Kinetic Connections was where my family needed to be, and that it was everything I'd been looking for. I was looking for opportunities for Ellie to get to socialize with other children and to actually get to be just a normal teenager and to have normal teenage experiences, like going to dances and going to Halloween parties and Valentine parties. And so that's when I really wanted to get involved with Cerebral Palsy Kinetic Connections and see how I could get involved with starting social events and helping to connect other teenagers and other families that their children had cerebral palsy. We've been able to give scholarships to other families and families that don't necessarily have the opportunities that I've been given and the networking that I've been able to get.
This organization, Cerebral Palsy Kinetic Connections, is the result of the support and collaboration of a number of individuals. Some of those individuals are within the Kennedy-Krieger system itself, and some are families.
For cerebral palsy, one of the challenges is that it is underfunded and understood by much of the population as compared to a lot of situations like autism or various other things that exist in the special needs community. And so it's really important that we work together to figure out a way to get people to understand what cerebral palsy is.
Help further the development of our programs and services to benefit individuals with cerebral palsy and their families by making a donation to Cerebral Palsy Kinetic Connections.